Cool. And what is the activity for this week?
We basically just have to talk about the article we read and then talk about the paragraphs or whatever examples we talked about, and then write just a paragraph about the most important or interesting insights your group gained from the discussion.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's different than what I thought we would have, but whatever.
Yeah.
Art?
Just give my example.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So my example was on familiarity. In high school, our director basically just chose the same kids for every show, despite like some of them were awful.
Like for theater?
Yeah. He chose his son to be the lead in like 3 shows, and he could not sing on pitch. But he chose him because it was his kid. So that was a bias. That was the example.
Jenny, do you want to give yours?
Yeah. So mine is about, I'll just read it. When I was young, there was a one time that my mom gave some allowance to test me. Before she gave me some pocket money, she asked, "Do you want to have $10 right now, or do you want to have $20 the end of this month?" I said I would rather have $10 right now. If I was a person who is more experienced, a lot of delayed discounts, when delayed discounts are high, feel the value has fallen over time, so I will receive $10 that moment. Therefore, I think this is kind of related with discounting.
I thought we had to give an example of one of the 5 types of bias.
Yeah, I thought too.
But let me see. When I read the instruction of our individual examples, it said, think of one example, real or imagined, from your own life, from a newspaper article you've read, from your observation, etc., of one of the areas of biases discussed in it. Yeah, I guess. Well, they also said and discounting too, so.
Yeah. I think whatever.
So, John just wants to get this done.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just share mine real quick. So mine was based more on prejudice. It was a personal thing too. It was in high school. I had a professor when I was in. I had an honors English class. I love to hunt. Like, the walls of my house back home are filled with dead animals hanging on the wall, and our freezer right now is full of elk steak, and like, we hunt a lot in my family, and I grew up doing it, and it's just something that my dad and my brothers, we all do together. And I went to my professor. I'd never had issues ever with getting off school or anything or work. I would always go to my professors like a week, or not my professors, my teachers in high school like a week early, and just say, hey, I'm going to be gone for 5 or 6 days hunting. What am I going to miss? What assignments do I need? And all my teachers were good except for one. I went to her, and she was my honors English teacher, and she was like, she had like PETA posters hanging in her class. Like, she was very like anti-hunting, and because of that, she like wouldn't give me any of my homework. She wouldn't give me any of my assignments, and after that, she started grading me really harshly. And we ended up in this battle. The superintendent got involved. My parents got involved. Like, get me out of the class. Like, the school board overrode my my grade change, basically, so that I could have the grade that I had earned. Because I remember we had a meeting, and the teacher was like, well, Jade does A work, and I had like a D in the class. They're like, so give him an A. She goes, well, I can't give someone an A who feels so strongly the opposite about something that I feel. Like she was blatantly prejudiced against my choices of extracurricular activities, and so she was like failing me in my classes. So we got her fired. And that was really fun.
Yay.
But yeah, it wasn't good. Like it was a full term, like a full 3 months, 2 or 3 months of just, it was a joke. I mean, just trying to get anything done. She wouldn't talk to me. I tried to keep doing my schoolwork, and she like wouldn't accept stuff. Like I'd turn stuff in on time. She'd be like, you did this wrong. Sorry. She'd like give me zeros on tests. Like it was bad. So that's my example of prejudice.
Fun.
Yeah, you could say that. It was fun getting her fired. It felt really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. You
got it pulled up, John?
I have the assignment pulled up, yeah.
You want to just type stuff out?
You
got it right there in front of you?
You want me to type the assignment out, or you want me to copy and paste the assignment into the chat?
No. I'm talking. Just tell us what to do, and you know how normally like Jenny will turn it in, we'll submit it.
Yeah.
You want to do it just since you've got it pulled up right there?
Sure.
Cool.
Because we just have to write a paragraph telling what was the most important or interesting thing gained from the discussion.
Jenny, what was most important to you?
From the reading?
Or from what we've talked about, the reading, your opinion, anything. I mean, really anything when it comes to bias and prejudice. And anything that has some discrimination and whatever, anything else.
So from the reading assignment, it's talking about accounting, like what will be the good way to be a good accountant, or like why do they need to be another person to check about their auditing, because they could be bad, like they could be make them wrong data to make looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Since my majoring is accounting, so I know what's like going on with them, so therefore they need like extra people to double check them.
To keep people from like biasing their accounting practices in order to keep them from like paying taxes and things like that.
Right, so make sure they got the right numbers.
Uh-huh. That's good. I think just reading through everything, and like I did some more research and read some more like online like definitions and things like that. And I think it's interesting. You see lots of different. Everybody's always claiming, oh, well, you're biased, you know, especially nowadays, like in today's society. I mean, our demographic, the millennials, everybody's looking to play the victim. Everybody's like, well, it's because the man's out to get me, you know. Trump doesn't want to pay for my college, but he does, so Trump hates me, you know. He's discriminating, he's biased against me or whatever. And I think it's just interesting. I guess what I gleaned from it is today more than ever, it's important to understand really what a bias is, because nobody seems to really truly understand what it is. Everybody's just playing the poor me card, and it's a way for people to get out of accepting responsibility for their mistakes and for their actions. You know, they're always looking to blame someone else. Oh, well, so and so is against me. You know, they're fighting me. It's because of them. I don't know.
Right.
That's what I thought. What do you think, John?
Yes. I think bias is bad, but like, yeah.
So do you guys think the slavery happened because of the bias?
What?
Do you guys think the slavery happened because of the people's bias?
Slavery?
Yeah.
No, like genuinely, me personally, with slavery, I really feel like I don't think people were doing it genuinely. I don't think people were doing it to be biased. I think bias was a byproduct of slavery. People genuinely, like white Americans, genuinely looked at African Americans as animals. Like, it's sad to say, but that's how they looked at them. I mean, they went so far as to even do selective breeding. I mean, it's crazy. That's why black people are so good at sports, is because we, as fat white American slobs, bred the undesirable traits of obesity and things like that out of them. They naturally have better bone structure and better muscle structure. We didn't treat them any different than animals, and it's sad to say that, but because of that, that's where the bias formed. Once we finally abolished slavery and realized, you know what, these are people, there were people who still were like, no, they're animals, they're my property, and I own them, and I paid money for them. And that's where the bias began. I don't think slavery started because people were like, look at him, I don't like him, I want to own him.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, for me personally, I think like slavery and that sort of thing, that is more of a byproduct of that. Or bias is a byproduct of slavery. As is racism. People didn't look at black people as, well, you're less than a person, or they did, but they didn't look at them like, well, you look at them as people. As far as Americans were concerned, they weren't people. I don't know. What do you think, John?
I saw a dog on your screen.
How'd you see my dog?
It was like right at the bottom left, and it was
Yeah,
cute.
I saw it too.
Rusty. Rusty. Say hello.
Oh.
Anyways.
Right. Bias is not good. This is what I have written down. People use bias to get away with things without really knowing what it means. Slavery wasn't really bias. Jade got a teacher fired for being awful. That's what I have.
Including important things. I like it.
Yeah. Well, it says to write down the interesting things that came from your discussion.
Interesting. I have a dog. That's interesting.
Oh,
Are you putting that?
yeah.
I got an email that Brayden will be late for the meeting a little bit, so I don't know if he's gonna hop in later.
Like how late? Like in the next 2 minutes late, or like
I don't know. He just emailed to us that he's gonna be a little bit late.
man, I'm gonna be a little late. Yeah, I got it too. I'm gonna just tell him how late we're about to finish up.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Okay, so here's what I've here's what I have written. But I'm sorry. I don't know.
These are her.
I'm sorry.
Her name is Trusty. Trusty is offended. Trusty needs a safe space now, and Play-Doh, pizza, and hot chocolate.
How do you spell trusty?
Trusty.
I fixed it.
Damn.
So what do you think we should write on our paragraph thing?
Our paragraph, I mean, I think the biggest thing, so the paragraph is what we gleaned like the information that we found to be most interesting.
I don't think anyone can like not be biased, really.
Yeah, it's hard to like completely rid yourself of all biases.
I think you have to like recognize that you have the bias and like understand that like, okay, am I making this decision out of logic or out of, is this bias affecting it? And you have to like take it and remove it while still acknowledging it.
For sure. And I along with that, it's almost like Christ-like attributes where it's like, okay, look, I'm really good at charity. Oh, but now I need to work on humility. I got that fixed. Wait, but now, you know, I mean, you're constantly working on. It's a never-ending cycle, and it's a constant. It takes a constant conscious effort to work on your on correcting your biases, essentially. Since you guys think Trusty is so adorable, do you want to see her favorite place to sit?
Mm-hmm.
That's my wife's recliner.
That's so cute.
When my wife isn't home, Trusty sits in it.
Oh. Okay.
There you go. There's your adorableness for the day.
Okay, cool. So then after that, I wrote. Let's see. Wait. No one can be completely unbiased. We're all a little bit biased sometimes. What we must do is acknowledge that we have those biases and maintain a constant effort to not let those biases affect our decisions.
At the same time, bias can be good. Bias isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Like I take a look at anything I buy as far as products. You know, I may feel certain biases towards or against certain products, depending on what it is, for certain reasons. I compare everything to hunting, but I take a look at like the guns that I use and the optics that I own and things like that. You know, the binoculars and the scopes and things like that. I am biased towards, I buy one brand because I've had good experiences with them, and when I get in the field and it's negative 20 degrees and the wind is blowing and the rain's coming down, and I'm trying to hit an elk 300 yards away, I trust it. And so that bias has built up a trust with this company and has built a loyal customer as well.
Well, is that bias or is that logical reasoning?
No, I would say it's biased because there are other good companies out there as well. But I am biased towards this other company because of the good experience I've had with them.
Okay.
It can help mold your decision making in a good or a bad way. Does that kind of make sense? I don't know. Maybe it's not.
I'm just trying to see it where it would be a good thing, because if
Okay, take a look at cars.
Right.
I think we're all of the opinion. I mean, I hate to assume, but Toyota vehicles are known for lasting a long time. You can put a lot of miles on them, right? Whereas Fords aren't necessarily known for that, but they have really good trucks, right? Someone is biased against Ford's cars or whatever, Ford's vehicles, because they've had some bad experiences, but they really like Toyotas. Then you take a look at Toyotas as a whole. Maybe someone had some lemons, had a bad experience, and so it's built up this negative bias towards Toyota, and now they only buy Ford or Honda or someone else. Because of their own experiences, a bias has formed, and that has shaped their decision-making and their way of thinking.
I'm not saying how it's a good thing, because like if you're biased towards something that's the best choice, right? And you're still making the best choice, but it shouldn't come from a place of this will always be the best choice no matter what. There should be a logical conclusion of, okay, I've had experiences and they've done well, and checking against other things, not blindly just following something.
I don't think it's necessarily blind, because at the same time you could argue that bias a lot of the time isn't, like even negative biases a lot of the times aren't blind. You know, you take a look at people who are racist, that's a form of bias, right? What they feel is based on, to them, facts and their experiences and their things that they've seen and heard and done in the past. Does that make sense?
I guess, yeah.
They feel racist not just because, like, people will feel racist because that's how they were brought up, that's how they were raised, that's how they were taught, and that's what they've experienced. And so because of their experiences and their opinions, they're going to form a bias against different races.
Okay. So
I don't know. I'm just making conversation is all.
Great. Okay. I'm just gonna put in the entire thing. Wait. My first sentence and my last sentence aren't the same.
Bias can be bad. Maybe change it.
Okay. Do you think that's whatever?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay.
I say we call it. John's sick. Braden had plenty of time to get here. He's 30 minutes late. I say we call it.
Okay.
Cool. Any you want to end it?
Yeah.